Welcome back to Desire to Inspire. It's your mama's favorite podcast. You already know me and Freddie are here. We are joined by Jack Moses. Jack, what is up, bro?
Yo. I appreciate you guys having me on. I've been looking forward to this. It's a long time coming, given you came on mine like 5 months ago, right when I was starting. So it's very interesting to see how much has changed since then.
Hell yeah. Me and Jack were actually just on a call before this, and like we were going over it. I was on his in like October. And it doesn't feel like that long ago, but I was his third episode.
Damn.
So it's been a while since we've last connected, but I'm excited to kind of dive into it.
Hell yeah, same here.
Hell yeah, that's dope. Glad to be a part of this one.
Yeah.
That wasn't throwing shade. I
know.
I just
didn't think
Jack
it was
for the first time. That wasn't okay. Good.
But no, so me and Jack actually connected on Twitter probably 6 months or so ago. He just reached out. We hopped on a call, and he was more like in the space of growing his Twitter, and at the time he was looking into fitness coaching, so he was just kind of feeling everything out. He wanted a podcast. Now he's podcasting. But
hell yeah.
It's crazy. I feel like when we first connected probably 6 months ago, he had probably not even 1,000 followers. What are you at now? Like almost 8,000 in 6 months?
I think like 7,500 or something, but I've really stopped checking or caring because I noticed it's so bad for your mental health to attach your happiness to a follower count. So at first I really cared about like, all right, I want to grow these followers, but now it's like I don't care at all.
Bro, mine haven't moved. Like mine are actually going the wrong way for like the last 3 months. So I think Elon's fucking with me right now for real.
Dude, but that's the thing. Like, it doesn't affect your quality of life. Like it's not actually real. Yeah.
I don't know. My mom told me that if I don't get him up, I can't come home. So I don't know what's going on, man.
Have you noticed that since you haven't been paying attention to it, are you happier that way? Is it growing organically like you want it to, or?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like once you kind of detach from the outcome, I've noticed, and I just put out stuff that I really find interesting, or like just be as vulnerable and as authentic and unapologetically myself as possible. Like the followers come as a byproduct. But when I try, and I have tried when I was starting off to grow, like doing all these tactics and like worrying about like how many likes, retweets am I going to get? I noticed sometimes I didn't get as many followers. So it's interesting. It's like the reversal of desire. When you care less, like the outcome comes.
Yeah, that's dope. Because Dylan and I kind of changed some of our strategy and our like even like editing sake for like some of our videos that we've been posting this year, or just like what we're centering the content around. And before, I felt like I was just throwing baseballs to get the reps in, to get the pitches down or whatever it is. And now like actually creating something around what I want to and not caring about those tangible numbers is paying dividends. Like I'm seeing way more engagement. I mean, granted, it's not like a shit ton, but it's more than it was. And it's all trending in that right direction because I feel like I'm actually putting that content around the things that I care about or the things that I have like that desire or passion about that's like relating to people.
100%. And like the first person that came to mind for me is like, okay, who's the greatest podcaster of all time? It's probably Joe Rogan. Like he went into podcasting with no intention for it to be this huge thing. He just does it and has conversations with people he finds interesting. And he's just so authentically himself. And like the numbers take care of themselves. But he's even said it, like he's not in it for the money, for the fame or anything. He just does it because he loves it. And I think you could say that about literally anybody who achieves great things. They do it repeatedly because they love it.
For sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of dive into a little bit of your story here. So I feel like even in these 6 months that we've kind of known each other and been connected, you've already went like kind of through this evolution of kind of changed your path altogether. But let's kind of take it back and let's just kind of learn about you from a base level. So if you just kind of want to give some general stuff, then I'm sure we're going to start peppering you with questions here soon.
Yeah, for sure. I'll give you like the elevator pitch backstory. So grew up in a small town in Illinois called Lake Zurich. Played sports there my whole life, like football, baseball, basketball, track, like anything with a ball I was in. Played those three sports throughout high school, stopped playing basketball after freshman year to focus more on baseball and football because I was like, okay, I'm 5'10". Like the odds that I go to play college basketball are pretty low, but like baseball or football, it seems more realistic.
You're also white.
5'10"
white, like
that's true. Wait, JJ Barea though, like he gives us hope. Actually, I think he's Hispanic technically. But anyways, so I started focusing really hard on like baseball and football and became pretty obsessed with Northwestern just because it was like the hometown team. They were starting to get really good at football around that point. They had just made the Big Ten championship for like the first time in years. And I became a super fan. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to play there. Like, I don't care if people call me crazy. Like, that's my goal. I'm shooting for it. And I at first thought I was going to play baseball there, but then had a couple like shoulder injuries and decided like football was more realistic. And so senior year, I finally like got in touch with them, and they offered me a preferred walk-on spot on the team. So like they don't help you financially get into school, but they get you on the team and they get you in the school, because I kind of frame it like this. Like, I wasn't quite good enough to get a scholarship to go there, or I wasn't quite smart enough to get in there academically, but I was just enough of each that like I kind of could get in. So I feel like I kind of snuck my way in there in a way. And then played for 2 years on the team, battled a bunch of injuries up and down, and then decided to call it quits last March. So like 11 months ago. And since then, like, stuff has changed like crazy, but I'm sure we can get more into that.
Yeah, what was kind of the catalyst that made you call it quits? Like, what was the main factor that you're like, fuck it, I'm done?
So I was between like 3 different paths. So I was either going to stay at Northwestern and keep playing and try to like rehab through this ACL injury. That was path 1. Path 2 was I was going to try to play quarterback at a D3 school. I was talking to a bunch of schools to try to go play D3 ball, and I was on the wait list from University of Chicago. So that was like the dream. I wanted to go there, be starting quarterback. I was like talking with guys on the team. I'm like, let's win a fucking national championship. Like, that's just how I think. But then I was just sitting on the wait list in the transfer portal, and like nothing was really happening. And I decided that there was also a third path, which would be me staying at Northwestern, being only a student and not playing football. And there's a couple things that like led into that, but I was really able to introspect, and I had a psychedelic experience, and I was able to like zoom out and realize like, okay, like this identity of me being an athlete, like it was my whole identity, my whole life, but it's actually quite limiting. And without that, I could become whoever I want. And I still don't know who that is. I'm figuring it out. But I was able to flip it in my mind from a negative to a positive in terms of like the possibilities are endless for life if you approach it the right way.
A psychedelic trip, is this some extracurricular activities or
so
mushrooms?
Yeah, it was magic mushrooms. It was around last March. I took like a small dose by myself, just because I was looking into it a ton. I had seen a bunch of Joe Rogan episodes. First time.
I don't think I could do it first time by myself.
Dude, I'm crazy. But yeah, so I'm not like condoning people go do it or anything. Obviously, disclaimer.
I'm planning on it soon.
We've talked about it on here.
All right, perfect. I didn't want to like get you guys canceled or anything, but
No.
Trust me, if I'm getting canceled, it's gonna be all on me.
Okay, good to know. But yeah, so I took like 2.5 grams by myself and just literally sat there in my house for like hours, just thinking and like journaling and like reflecting on who I was. Like, it sounds super spiritual, like woo woo and hippie, but I think it's probably like the turning point of my life in a big way.
Damn. So I want to take it, because I think this will come back up in further discussions, but I want to stay focused on the sports side of your life, because growing up playing sports, I realized how much of that does create your like identity or like what you're striving for. And it takes up the majority of your time with practices, training, whatever it is. And so looking into you a little bit, not knowing as much as Dylan does, how did sports take you from your highest high to your lowest low to kind of get you in like a mental funk? Because I saw that in one of your podcast episodes or like YouTube or something, you talked about sports being something that kind of navigated. You went from being a star player to not one of the stars on the team. So I want to hear how that kind of like played a factor in your life.
Yeah, so I think it has a big thing to do with identity again and like ego. And so to give a little context about the town I grew up, Lake Zurich, it's a big football town. Like everybody goes to games on Friday night. Like there's thousands of people. Student section is crazy. Like the whole school kind of revolves around it. And I became quarterback like halfway through my junior year and then senior year. And so it's just that status of like being the guy, and like you get the ball every play. Like every play goes through you. Like you really matter in terms of like the school, the team, everything. And I never understood the flip side of that, what it would be like to be like one of the bottom guys who didn't really matter. And so when I got to college, I went from like star quarterback to eighth string slot receiver on the depth chart, right? And like that fucked with my head so bad because it was like my whole identity was being this great athlete. And I felt like I went from one of the best athletes in my school to now probably like one of the worst players on the team. And that was tough mentally to deal with because my whole identity was built around it. And my whole sense of self-esteem and confidence was built upon like how people viewed me as like this star athlete. And now that I no longer was that, I like lost all my confidence.
Makes sense.
I'm sure it wasn't like an overnight switch was flipped. So how do you go from losing what essentially is your whole identity to then kind of finding a new identity?
I think it's just through experimentation and just like being open to experiences and like
mushrooms.
And yeah, totally. And I was just talking with a friend about this. Jordan Peterson mentioned this study one time. He said, people who have a psychedelic experience, they move an entire standard deviation to the right on the openness spectrum. So the openness to experience is one of the big 5 traits in psychology. And it's basically like, well, it's in the name. It's open to new experiences and experimenting with the world. And I feel like that really brought that side of me out that I never felt I had. And so from there, like a month later, I got this crazy idea. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be playing sports for the first time in my life all summer. Like, why don't I just do something crazy? So I called up my best friend from high school and I'm like, dude, this is fucking insane. But like, do you want to just backpack Europe for like 3 months this summer? And he was like, yeah, I'm down. And so from there, we planned the trip. We booked like a one-way ticket to Rome and like one night in an Airbnb. And we left in June and came back in August. And that was like, that really helped me find my new identity, or the one that's forming as like a writer, a creator, like an explorer. I don't know. It's weird. I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, that's dope. Do you actually remember, Freddie, when me and you discussed backpacking through Europe? There was a time like when I first graduated, we contemplated going for like a month, and I think about it often, and I'm salty we never went.
Hey, you can still go.
Time, brother.
You can still go
You're
now.
not wrong. We might be going to Turkey now, but
yeah, that's we'll call that a business trip.
Love it.
We want to go to Turkey to get hair implants, so that way we don't go bald.
I mean,
really,
I'm
they
already
do
there,
that over
bro.
there,
Yeah,
dude. Wait,
Yeah,
how much does that cost?
The hair transplant costs anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 there, and then the ticket to get there, I looked and I just put a random date in. It was like $1,200. But the company where you go and get the surgery done, they'll put you up in pretty much like a penthouse suite. They'll pay for or they'll get a personal driver to take you from the airport to the hotel to the hospital, and then back. And once you're over there, I mean, it's dirt cheap. So the hotel and the travel isn't expensive once you're over there. But yeah, it's something I'm highly contemplating to do before the end of this year or early next year.
What about the alternative perspective where like I feel like a lot of girls now, they like the bald look. Like look at like Andrew Tate, like for example, like that dude he's pulling, right?
Well, I just
He's
saw a
bald.
picture of him today, and he's pretty hairy after a month in jail.
That is true. But why not just like embrace it and shave it off? And I'm asking kind of for myself too, because my dad is bald, and I'm like, okay, I might go bald someday. So it's always in the back of your head.
I mean, my hair is only this short because if it's not, I have a really bad bald spot. So this is actually not even a year that it's been like this, where I was just like, fuck it, like there's nothing I can do. I feel worse with hair on, so like let's just go like this. So I'm still contemplating getting, just because like, you know, I'd like to have hair. But that's why like I'm up in the air because I've already taken the sleep, and I'm like, at this point, fuck it. Like anybody new that meets me, this is how they're gonna know me. And then everybody else, I feel like everyone is already accustomed to it at this point. Like it's just kind of, and it's also saves me a lot of money.
Right. I could not imagine you with hair. I'm not gonna lie.
It wasn't a lot, but it was there. It was there.
Yeah, I don't think I could embrace the bald look. I would say it's like my number one insecurity is like even thinking about going bald. So I probably would be fine for a little bit, but the back end is like starting to thin, and I see it in like videos and shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready to.
Videos are worse though, bro.
Or shave my head.
Videos are worse because like right now you can't really see it, but in videos, when we did the last like the bulking thing, you
Yeah.
could see the bald spot from the lighting on my head. I'm like, okay, this is some bullshit because I have no hair, and you could still see this thing, man.
Yeah. So for me, it's insecurity, and I'm definitely not that confident not to have hair. And I think I've been saying since I was like 12 years old, because 90% of my uncles, if not 100%, are bald, or they're holding on to like little strands they comb over.
That's
My
worse.
father, yeah, my dad, he was bald. And so it's just never a look that I wanted. So we're just going to go and get the surgery done. So that's the plan.
Hey man, whatever you feel makes you happy, like go for it. I'll hit you up for advice. Hopefully never, but maybe in like 10, 20 years.
There we go. What did you getting it back on track of traveling and stuff like that? Because I'm going on a trip for the first time out of the country this coming weekend for a week. And it's something that I want to start focusing on because I think there's a lot of positives in traveling, especially outside of the US, that I'm going to end up learning through this trip. But what was like top 3 things that you took away during that time where you're away from everyone and disconnected from the normal world you're used to?
Yeah, you just kind of adopt to a completely different pace of life. I feel like in the US, we just go, 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 go. But in other cultures, it's so much more slow, and they prioritize just leisure and relaxing and just like enjoying the present moment more, it seems. Versus like in big cities like Chicago, New York here, it's like people are just going, right? They never have a chance to breathe or like appreciate life. That was huge. Another thing, like when you're backpacking and traveling and staying in hostels and stuff, like you're kind of in this subsection of people who are very similar to you already. Because like somebody who is not very open to experiences or looking to meet people probably wouldn't be backpacking in the first place. So you're in these hostels, you're meeting these kids like 18 to 25, like even 30-year-old people who you just hang out, become friends with for a couple days, from England, from Norway, from Italy, from Russia, like crazy. You're literally becoming friends with people from around the world. And the awesome thing about Europe was pretty much everybody spoke English. So like you could communicate with anybody. And a huge takeaway from that was like, we're all so much more similar than we think. Like we just happen to grow up in different parts around the world, but like we're all just want to like be happy and enjoy our lives. And like everybody's just trying to find their way when they're backpacking. So that was 2. That was 2 out of the 3. I'm trying to think of another one. Another one for me was like reevaluating my relationship with money, because I had this like scarcity mindset for so long about like, I never want to spend anything, but you can't take it to the grave. And like, it's kind of interesting to like sleep in shitty Airbnbs, like only have like $10 a day for food. Like I came from a very like comfortable upbringing in a very comfortable town. Never had to like think about money or worry about money. So like that perspective flip, I think, was really good for my own growth.
That's dope. What was I going to say? Was there somebody that influenced you or that you like saw or knew that did this just to like get up and go? And then while you were over there, did you give yourself an objective that you wanted to do to be able to find that new identity? Or was it like, I'm going to go over there, forget about everything, and then it'll all figure out at the end?
Yeah. So off your first question, like there really wasn't anybody to model this off of. Like, I don't even know where I got the idea. I really have no, it just came to me one time. And when I get like a big idea and I think like, okay, like it actually might be a move, like I'll just do it. I have this tendency to just do stuff now, like before I feel ready, finally, because I felt like I didn't have that for a while. But even with like starting a podcast or writing on Twitter or doing all this stuff, like I just was like, okay, this would be cool to do. Like, I'm just going to do it. And then you figure it out as you go. And I think that kind of ties into the second part of your question about like, did I have an objective or anything? It was like, no, all I knew at that time was like, I was getting into reading. I was journaling a lot, trying to like get on these good habits for self-improvement and like fixing my mental health. And I just fell in love with journaling. And I journaled like 200 pages handwritten about like the entire trip. I haven't gone back and read it, but like that's something I definitely should do. And I was like, damn, I love writing. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to start sharing some of these thoughts with some friends and family. So I sent like an email to like 10 people, like a couple friends, couple family members. I was like, this is really weird. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but would you want to receive an email from me every Thursday with like things I'm learning or like habits and stuff? And some people were like, no, like, I don't send me that. But some other people were like, yeah, that'd be cool. And so from there, I just started writing those like every Thursday. And then that led me down like this slippery slope of Twitter, podcast. Now I'm like ghostwriting. Yeah, it's crazy.
I thought you were going to say something, Freddie. I was waiting for you. I looked at you and I'm like, oh, he's got something. But
I was waiting for you. I've been asking away. He probably feels interrogated by me.
No, so kind of to go off of like this whole writing thing, let's just take it from like when you first got on Twitter. I know that we kind of talked about it before, but just for the people, I know that your main goal at first was to become a fitness coach, become a trainer, whatever you call it. How has that changed, and like how has writing kind of influenced that?
Yeah, so at first when I was getting on Twitter, I was finding all these guys like Dan Coe and like Dakota, and I was just interested in like, okay, how are they making money from this stuff? And I had no idea like how to make money or anything. And I remember I wrote on my whiteboard, like it was like September at the time, and I was like, all right, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try to make my first $500 online by December. And that seemed impossible. It seemed absolutely impossible. And from there, I was just strategizing about like, okay, what are some ways I could do this? And so I thought about like fitness coaching people after finding people like you on Twitter and just like hopping on calls with people and getting their advice and insight. And then just kept writing about things that interested me, started trying to learn things like copywriting and all this stuff. But I had no idea how I was going to like monetize or anything. And then I started like freelance ghostwriting for somebody who was my mentor a couple months ago in like a completely different industry in like behavioral economics. And I thought I was going to go into that field. And I started writing for him, freelance writing for him. And then the $500 took care of itself. And I was like, okay, I have something here. And I was like, who else could I write for? And then it was like, okay, I know a lot about fitness. I've connected with a lot of fitness guys. Like maybe I could help some fitness guys on Twitter with their content and help write high performing stuff. And so that's like what's led me down the road to becoming this pretty much freelance ghostwriter, which has been so life-changing because now it gives me the freedom to travel the world, like live where I want, do everything completely on my own terms. And that's a whole nother story, but we can definitely get into that.
That's where I wanted this story to lead. So I don't know how open you are to talking about it. I don't know how much you've already put out there, but if you are open to talking about it, kind of what we discussed on our previous call, if you want to kind of go into that, then I'll let you divulge as much as you want to put out there.
Yeah, I could tell you where I'm at right now and where my head is at. So as of a couple weeks ago, I finally came to the decision after like a ton of reflection and introspection and finally signing my first couple clients, that like, okay, wait, like why am I in school? Like, why do I even want this degree? Why do I want all these things? Where are all these beliefs coming from? And I realized, like, I was reading this great book called Not a Life Coach by James Smith. He's actually a personal trainer on Instagram. He's awesome. He has some great books and stuff. But he said something along the lines of, like, okay, like, your worst case scenario is not actually as bad as you think. Like, let's say you go take a chance and, like, try to move across the country or across the world. And, like, I realized the worst case situation for going my own path would be to end up as like maybe like a personal trainer or like a waiter at a steakhouse somewhere tropical in like Bali or Australia, and have the rest of my life to enjoy it, to be at the beach, to like learn a martial art, to work out, to read, to like be in a beautiful spot. And I realized that worst case scenario was better than the best case scenario of me sticking with this traditional blueprint of like, go work this corporate job and make a lot of money. Because like, even if I became a CEO of a huge company, I wouldn't be happy. I don't think. Maybe that changes down the road. But in my current state, it's like, okay, those external material things don't really make me happy. What makes me happy is like freedom over my time and spending my time doing things I love. And so I came to that realization a couple of weeks ago, and I came to the decision that I was going to take this next quarter off of college. So from March to June, I'm going to be like taking this quarter off to experiment with like what life would be like as like this freelance digital nomad. And maybe I completely fail. Okay. I can go back to Northwestern in the fall and finish out the last year of my degree. But if not, and I hope things go to plan, well, maybe they won't. I don't know. Like, things change so quick. But in an ideal world, I wouldn't go back because I realized it wasn't even what I wanted in the first place. It was just what society told me I should want.
That perspective is one I actually haven't viewed. It's like my worst case scenario. Like, I've never looked at that, but like, to be transparent, like, I have like some shit going on in my 9 to 5 where it's like, okay, like, this may not be like a long-term play. Like, I might have to look elsewhere. But even like in that, I've played through the scenario of, okay, I just go serve or bartend, like you were saying. But I'm like, I'm in the mindset of like, I have to do it here, which I'm happy where I am. I obviously, like, I didn't grow up here. Like, this is a place that I moved to. But like, to frame it as like, I could go out of the country. I could live like in this tropical place and do the same exact thing. Like, I don't know. I think it's still a society program. Even though like I've done all this shit like to get myself out of the typical role, it's like it's still in there to a degree where it's like, I don't know if I should do this or not.
Yeah, we're all programmed like way more than we think to like pursue these paths that like society deems as acceptable. Because like, okay, take two people. One person is, and I have a lot of friends like this in my life, so I'm not dissing them. And I was on this path myself too. But like, one person is making like $250K as an investment banker at Goldman Sachs in New York, and they're working like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And the other person would be like making 30, 40K a year as like a freelance writer traveling the world. But society deems the Goldman Sachs person as like extremely successful, versus the second person would be deemed as kind of like, oh, he's kind of an outcast, or like, yeah, he's just figuring things out, right? So I think it's interesting, like, what we value in society is like these titles, these status symbols, these hierarchies, whereas I reflected on my own values and I realized I don't care about that. Like, the number one value I have, like, written on my whiteboard above me, that is the driving factor for every decision is freedom. And like, if I can live a life where am optimizing for maximum freedom, like, that is much more fulfilling to me than a huge job title or like salary, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the word freedom is very interesting to me. It's something that I also like. I feel like it pushes me towards everything I want, but the way that people define freedom is often very different. So what does freedom mean to you?
Yeah, for me, it's like freedom to wake up when I want, work on what I want, spend time with who I want, live where I want. I don't have to get dressed up in a suit and tie and like be told when I can like arrive, when I can leave, when I can eat lunch. Like, I want complete control over my life as much as possible. And what I don't think many people have realized yet is like the internet gives that possibility to anybody that is willing to go for it. Like, all I have is this computer and my phone, and like, I've figured out a way to pursue this alternate path. And like, anybody with a device and an internet connection can do it. I think it's just a matter of like belief or knowing where to start. But yeah, for me, freedom is like, and I think as you progress, you can get more and more levels of freedom. And right now, like, I have class that I'm still kind of like in, but not really. And I have like a couple hours of client work and writing a week. So if you take like the entire week, like, this will be next month where I'm completely done with school. It'll be, so there's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What is that? Like 100, oh, got my math, 198 hours a week or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
If I only had to do client work for like 4 or 5 hours a week, that's 193 hours a week to do whatever I want. And for me, those things look like reading interesting stuff, like hopping on podcasts and talking to people I'm interested in, trying to build my own online business or digital product, or like make my own YouTube videos, or write when I'm feeling inspired, or go work out and hit the gym, like spend time talking with people that are like-minded. Like, that is what freedom is like to me. It's not like go fuck off and like lay by the pool and like drink margaritas. Like, I don't want that, but I want the autonomy and control to like spend my time as I choose.
That's dope. So just out of curiosity, with building your podcast brand, building Twitter, and like spreading this message that you have, what's the driving force behind being a ghostwriter for somebody else and giving them the information and knowledge and stories that you have versus doing it through your platforms?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So I would say like the only reason I would be doing it right now is to fund like this escape from the typical path, right? Because if I didn't have these clients, I wouldn't be able to go be making this huge jump. But now that I have a couple clients paying me like a couple $1,000s a month, I'm not making a lot of money by any means. But like I saw this tweet the other day. It was like, if you make 4 or 5K a month in Buenos Aires, it's like making 20K a month in New York City, because you're paying like 500 to $700 a month for rent, and you're like, food is ridiculously cheap. Like it's not about how much you actually make, because the investment banker makes a lot more than the freelance entrepreneur, but it's how much you could save. So if I could save $3,000 or $4,000 every month, like that might actually be saving me more money every month than if I go like to be a consultant or like work a traditional job.
Do you have a lot of people around you that like mean something to you? So I don't know, friends, family, whoever it is, that are pushing you to do this, or are they kind of like skeptical? Because I know we go through it all the time where people are like, I don't really see the vision. I don't get what you're doing. You're wasting your time. And it's just like, here it is, buddy. Just wait. Yeah. Because it kind of gets draining hearing that over and over again of like, oh, it's not going to work. Be cautious.
Right. And I mean, it sounds a bit, I don't know, maybe short-sighted, but I've really stopped listening to advice from anybody who's not living a life I'd want to live. And so the main people,
I like that shit. I like that.
I say this a lot, or I think I have a tweet like scheduled that says this, but like the majority of my best friends don't even know I exist. And so like there's these authors out there like Tim Ferriss or like Derek Sivers, or there's this great author named Paul Millard. I'm shouting him out. I just read his book in a day. I read it yesterday, and it's like everything's coming together at the perfect time. It's called The Pathless Path, and it's basically like an alternative way to live. And I was like, okay, I have like some followers on Twitter. Like, let me just like shoot this guy a DM, ask him to come on my podcast. And he said like he's down, but his wife is going into labor soon. So like he's got a lot going on. But I also followed it up. I was like, this is crazy. I don't know if you do this, but can I pay you like $500 to hop on an hour call? Like, I just need some guidance and advice. And I feel like you're living the path I want to live. And he said, I don't do paid coaching, but like send me your questions in here and I'll answer them. And so last night I was like texting this author who I was like kind of looking up to in a way and taking inspiration from. And he was just giving me guidance about like, listen, like people aren't going to understand. Like you are the only person that is truly going to understand. And so taking inspiration from those who have already done it is huge. And then finding those people in your life, and they're going to be rare, that are like 100% supportive of you no matter what you do. And so my best friend is at the Matt Mick on Twitter. His name is Matt Michelini, and we've become really good friends over the past month or so. He was living with his parents in San Francisco on a break from school, and he just moved to Buenos Aires to do a study abroad program for school. I don't know if he's going to stay in school. I probably shouldn't say. But the thing is, it's like we're in such a similar spot right now, and we're like, we feel like everybody in our lives, like it's very hard for them to see like why we're doing what we're doing, but we understand each other so well. We're like, we have to be living together. And that's why it's like the people you surround yourself with like are so, so important. And there are a lot of people in my life that are supportive of me, but like, do they understand fully? That's another question.
Freddie and I literally had this conversation today, like this morning, about, I don't know, I feel like we've both just been having realizations where it's like, these people can be in your life, they can still remain very close friends to you, but like they're not going to fucking get it. And you can't expect them to get it. So at this point, it's like, I think that's what has brought me and Freddie closer together, because we weren't ever like the closest of friends, but like through like this vision, through like just the desire to live this other life, like take this other path that you're talking about, has kind of brought us together. And I was lucky enough to be around people who are living that life, like who are in various ways. Like it's not like everyone's like in the same box, like in the same path, like living that this free life that you're talking about, this digital nomad, like make money on the internet, do whatever the fuck you want to do whenever you want to do it. And so Zach Hummel, who I know we talk about him on here all the time. We actually just got confirmation. Once we can finally get it in person, the podcast is happening. But like he's always said something that's like always stuck with me. He says you can't expect average people to understand your above average dreams. And like that shit is so true, and it'll always be true. Like these people are living an average life. Like you said, it's people who are not living a life that you want to live. So like you can't expect them to even fathom this idea, this dream that you have, because their life is so narrow. Like it's such a single fucking path mindset. They're never going to understand it.
Right. And it's tough sometimes to like navigate that, because I was reading this quote yesterday by this author named Rolf Potts, and he wrote this book called Vagabonding, and it's basically like a guide to extended travel and like slow travel. So like going and living somewhere for a couple months at a time and like just going your own path. And he says, this is about like friends and family. This, if you don't mind, I'm going to read this quote because
feel free.
Hell yeah.
It said, as you simplify your life and look forward to spending your new wealth of time doing what you want, you're likely to get a curious reaction from your friends and family. On one level, they will express enthusiasm for your impending adventures, but on another level, they might take your growing freedom as a subtle criticism of their way of life. And because your fresh worldview might appear to call their own values into question. So that's like an interesting line to navigate, because like by you deciding that like this new way of life is better for you, like it kind of also insinuates to them that like you're questioning their entire life decisions. And it's this interesting trade-off. And so what he says about it is like, you have to realize like it's this travel or like going your own path has to be a completely intrinsic thing. Like it has to be about your growth and development, nothing else. And nobody's going to understand.
I mean, in the nicest way, I am questioning every decision that they've made in their life. And like, you have to make whatever decision you have to make for yourself. Things come up, like things put you in a place where you have to do a certain thing to provide, to make a living, to do what you have to do. But at the same time, like, you can't expect me to do the same. And so it is a fine line you have to balance. But I mean, at some point it's like, I kind of am questioning it, because like, this is the only thing like you've ever showed me. So like, I have to question it, because I don't know. It could get real deep, and like I could be questioning like, are you truly happy in the life that you have? Are you truly happy in everything that you're doing? And I mean, more times than not, it's going to be a no. And so like, if I can't see you living like a fully like peaceful, happy life 24/7, then I don't want that. I don't care. Like, I'm not looking for glimpses of happiness in my life. Like, I'm looking for a fulfilled, happy, purposeful life all the way through.
I'm right there with you. And like, happiness to me is not waiting for the weekend and like going out and getting fucked up. Like, happiness to me is like every day waking up and feeling like blessed and thankful and grateful for where I'm at. And like, some of the like that, it sounds so interesting to people, because like on a typical Sunday, like there's this beautiful park right by where I'm living right now in San Francisco. And I will literally just go there and sit and just like be present in nature for like 2 to 3 hours. And if you tell like most people that, they're going to like be like, you're fucking insane. Like, why aren't you like watching the NFL Red Zone all day? And that's how I usually used to be. Also, I'm not shitting on football. Like, I love football. But once you realize there's more to life than like these shallow pursuits, or like these methods of escapism where you kind of can just turn your subconscious off and just like escape into party, drugs, sports, all these things.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that like Dylan and I, like he said, we've been talking a lot just on, you know, what's next? What are we still pushing towards? All of those like what in life, because last year I always like to use like analogies. Like last year we cleared the land by like starting DTI. We knew that we had a concept. We knew we had something that we loved and we wanted to tackle it because we knew it would help people. So we cleared this plot of land and we were just putting up a bunch of sticky notes in random areas of like different things we can do. So like you said, bring revenue in. Okay, cool. We can do personal training. We can start posting on social media. We can start doing all of these things. And it was like, okay. And then we like invested in the company in terms of like knowledge base or skill sets or platforms. And it was like, all right, that's another thing. So now we're starting to lay a little bit of a foundation. And as we went through the year last year, we've noticed what truly matters to us. Like, yes, we love what we're going towards, but we can hone in on what we actually want to achieve. And so at the end of last year, we were like, we're going to structure going into this year, and we're going to fully focus on helping the ordinary everyday person, because not everybody has big ambitions, dreams. Not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to travel the world. Some people want to have a ranch home in their hometown, and that's what they want, happy with 3 kids, and that's perfectly fine. And so as we started like really curating this like why of what we're doing it and finding the passion behind it and the drive that aligns everything, more and more is coming clear. And I think like I just moved from Dallas to North Carolina, and it's just been like crazy. A lot's going on. We're getting familiar with the area. We're getting comfortable. New job started, all this stuff. And we're completely restructuring the company. And now it's just like, all right, we're putting in all this work we have for the last year. Now, how do we take this to another level? And that's not getting caught up in the day-to-day of like other people or other individuals. And it's really like getting back to the roots of like, no, I'm not going to do this weekend, or I'm going to spend X amount of time on this, because every second that you put into said mission or dream that you have is going to grant you a little bit more success. But it's not where I put an hour time in and I'm going to get an hour worth of results, whatever that looks like, likes, video clicks, anything like that. And so you really do have to spend that time of like day in and day out. On the weekends, you can't take a break because that's when everybody else does. And so you're not getting ahead of anybody. And so I guess you could call it an epiphany of just like what we can do more of, because we're passionate about it. We have this why, and we have this vision and dream of helping people. And we know that we can truly make an impact in this world. And like, it aligns with what you're doing too. And so that's why I asked about the ghostwriting, but it makes complete sense of like the path you're on and why you're doing it. And so it's cool to like sit down and have conversations with somebody. You're 21, right?
Yeah, I'm 21.
That's 21-year-old, not going maybe to college after this semester, and like living out his dream and not caring what society deems to be successful. Because you look at all of these successful people, whether it's the Kevin Hart's in the comedian land, or it's fucking a professional athlete, whoever these big people are that we look up to and we idolize, singers, rappers, all of these people, none of them have fucking college degrees. None of them have worked a 9 to 5. None of them, they're working 2, 3 in the morning in the studio or in practice and doing all of this stuff that is bettering them for their dream, passion, their why. And so I love that. And I'm sorry I'm taking so much time. I'll let you guys speak in a second, but it brings me passion seeing so many more people going after that dream and realizing that it's not the fucking money that matters, but it's the happiness and the peace of mind that what you're doing is bringing you.
Totally. And yeah, one thing going off that is like, conversations like this with like-minded people are so energizing, right? Like, because I'm going to walk away from this podcast like, damn, these guys are some hustling entrepreneurs. Like, I'm such a lucky spot where like, I don't even have to work a job right now. Like, I have no excuse but to work harder on my own stuff, right? Whereas you guys are like, okay, like I have to work this 9 to 5, but I'm going to use my weekends to try to create a different life. Like, it's so energizing to connect with people. And like, that's why the internet is so amazing if you use it right.
I love this shit because like a lot of times like you can get in this zone where it's like I'm the only person fucking doing this. Like, what am I gonna do? But like this lets you know like you're not in it alone. Like, we're all doing our own thing, but like we're all doing something that's different, and you're not alone in it. And I don't know if you guys can hear this dog, but I'm about to go give him something to occupy his time, so I don't have to hear him. But continue this conversation.
For sure.
Sounds good. But no, and that's what it's key about, because there's plenty of things that I could sit here and criticize myself about that. Oh, you could spend more time doing this. You don't need to do this, but it's figuring out week over week, like how you can keep elevating and how you can keep going. Because like I said, we found, like I've been doing this one thing, it's called Basics 100 this year, where I'm making a video of just like basic ass fucking things, whether it's taking the trash out, whether it's cleaning your apartment, folding your laundry right when you're done washing it, like all of these people that get in mental ruts, including myself, I've been there. It's because we let things like keep piling on, because we'll pick this up and we'll scroll for fucking hours. And then it's like, shit, I didn't wash the dishes. I didn't put my laundry away. I didn't take the trash out. And now you wake up and you're like, oh my God, all this stuff, and you're frantic and everything. And we never take the time to blame ourselves for why we are in this position. And so it's just doing those things day in and day out that are minimalistic, that really add up to make the most impact.
Yeah, dude, that's such a valid insight. And like, that's something that I have to get better at myself. Cause it's like, okay, one day you don't make your bed, fine. One day you just like kind of let the dishes sit overnight, fine. But when that turns into 2 or 3 or 4, like then it starts spiraling, and then it starts to like literally weigh on you mentally. And then it fucks everything up. And Jordan Peterson has like, I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan. And one of his rules for life in his book is, I think it's like, get your house in order before you criticize the world. And it's so true, because like, unless you have your shit together, the dishes clean, the laundry folded, like everything is going right, like, or else you're in no spot to like criticize other people, because there's so many more little things that we all know we could be doing that we aren't doing. Like, you're the only person that knows when you hit snooze one time in the morning, right? And like, you're going to beat yourself up for that. But from the outside, nobody would ever know. Like, you get up at 6:40 instead of 6:30. In your head, you're like, damn, I'm a fucking lazy piece of shit. Like, I suck, or something like that. But from the outside, somebody would be like, damn, you woke up at 6:40 today. Like, I didn't get up until 11 a.m. So it's like, comparison is scary.
Yeah. And too, you snooze that alarm and you're like, it's 6:40, and now it's like, oh, I guess I'll just sleep until 7. I don't need to go to the gym because I already missed 15 minutes of the workout. And now you just completely push your day back an hour and a half because of that 10 minutes that you're like, oh, I'll just sleep in now. But it's all about compounding habits and focusing on the little things in life. And that's like what Dylan and I found is like, when we were doing personal training alone, we were getting the top 1%. That people that are going to pay high dollar amounts to do personal training that like are fully gung ho. They're like, yeah, I want to achieve this. I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to gain X amount of muscle. And there's a market for it, but it wasn't the market that we wanted, because we wanted to capture that middle ground, day-to-day people living their lives who might be happy, might not be happy, but it's then going to them and being like, all right, let's fix this without you thinking you have to change everything. Because most people are like, I want to lose 50 pounds. I need to eat completely healthy. I need to work out 6 days a week. And it's like, no, the fuck you don't. What are you doing right now? And let's correct that. Are you drinking 6 pops a day? All right, let's go down to 3 drinks from water. Are you not working out at all? Let's do it 2 times a week, and then we'll go from there. And it's building those little fucking habits that just add up. And after you look back 2 months, you're like, holy shit, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I see this falling off. I see this fitting better. I'm happier. I'm sleeping better. And it's like,
yes,
damn, I didn't even change my lifestyle. I just altered some things and made it fit into my lifestyle instead of burning myself out.
Yeah, and that's why I think fitness should be just such a fundamental key habit for everybody, because it's about so much more than just like the gym. It's about so much more.
It should be illegal not to work out.
It should be. Like, we stop physical education after high school, and people get fat, and it just like completely like derails the rest of your life. But I think once somebody's able to get in the gym and like see progress and like start to feel confident, I think this sense of self-belief comes in, like, okay, like I actually am capable of more than I realize. And that is a slippery slope into everything else, because once you start believing in yourself in one avenue, you're like, you know what, maybe I can try to start this side project. Maybe I can try to escape my job. Maybe I can try to create my dream life. But if you're just over here feeling like shit for your whole life, like you're never going to develop that self-belief.
That's the problem, though, and this is going to be very Andrew Tate-esque, but that's how they keep you stuck in the matrix, though, for real. It's like you have physical education, but there's no education around like other benefits of it. There's no education around healthy eating and like what that actually looks like. Like it's all very fundamental shit, but no one's taught it, and the whole reason is because then fucking the people who make the shitty food aren't getting paid. And then if you're healthier now, fucking the big pharma's not getting paid. Like the more that they can keep you stuck in this box and dependent on them, the more they're going to do it. And because it's just like you said, like if you get confident in this lane, now what else can I do? And they don't want a world full of people who think about what can I do? Like what can I accomplish? They want people to go through the fucking day-to-day, 9 to 5, listen to the rules and do what the fuck they say and give them their money.
Right. And I would say like that way of life, I think I've been reading about this a bit, like why this all happened, and this guy Paul Millard really outlines it in his book, The Pathless Path. I keep shamelessly plugging it.
You plugged it enough, though. I'm probably going to check it out. So,
dude, I will literally buy it for you. I think it's that impactful.
Damn.
But yeah, he talks about like how this whole like corporate world started, and it was like after World War II, people really wanted this sense of security, and as the economy was growing, like it gave people this really clear path. Like you could work this safe job, you can get all these benefits, you can be very secure, and you can save for retirement, so then you're free. And at the time that made sense, right? But so much has changed in the world since then. Like you couldn't work from your laptop on a beach in Bali in 1960. Now you can, but the problem is it's the default path. So most people will follow it blindly because like that's what their parents did. That's what your parents' did, right? And so it just gets distilled down to you. And so when you start to break out of that belief, you break out of the matrix, as Andrew Tate would say, like people around you are going to be like very worried about you, and they're going to start questioning everything. But I think you have to question like, okay, why do I want the things I want? Why am I on this path?
Yeah. Yeah, to touch on one more point is that rewinding it just a little bit to Dylan's last statement, but the whole concept of just like working out, in my opinion, and through seeing other people's success in it, is that once you start working out and all of the other bad habits you have, whether you smoke, you drink a lot of sugary drinks, you eat fast food, you do all of these things, you don't sleep well, you don't have a lot of energy, you're crashing midday, they start to realize and they start to see the impact that working out even 15 minutes a day has on their body, and they start feeling better. That's like, oh, wait, I'm feeling really good, but when I eat this cheeseburger, when I eat this pizza, I kind of feel sluggish. Or when I drink all of this pop, I feel sluggish, and all of these things. And I'm not saying pizza and burgers are bad. They are if you eat them all the fucking time, but everything's good in moderation. But then they start correcting that. So they're not eating it as much. They might start eating in more, and then they're sleeping better, and then they're more energized. And so it does give them the confidence even to like go out and meet people and find a girlfriend that they couldn't find or a boyfriend they couldn't find. And so it just starts compounding. So I truly wish that, one, you have to move away from your hometown for at least a month. Have to. Or 6 months. I think that should be a law. And I think that working out should have to be a law as well, because both of those things teach you so fucking much about yourself and give you such a clear vision when you're in those hard places, or when you're stuck, or when you think that there's not more. And they just, the dividends and return on investment from doing those two things can make a lot of people live a lot happier life and see it differently.
I love that first point about like everybody should leave their hometown for at least a month. Like that is so valid. And I think even going off of that more, it's like a lot of people from my high school, like they went to colleges where they're like hanging around the exact same people they hung out in the hometown. And that's why like I think doing some type of sabbatical or like going to backpack for a month, it will literally change the entire way you view the world, because now you're not in your little box. Now your views and opinions that everybody else shared, they're not actually shared. So then you have to question like, who am I? What do I believe? And that's a process of getting lost in a way, but through that confusion, like that's where you find out who you truly are, I think. So I love that idea.
Yeah, because where Dylan and I come from, I mean, I like to say the saying that like, if you're from Lorraine, then you stay in Lorraine. Like when you're there, you're there. And there's not a lot of that like motivation or like big corporations or like anything. There's no landscape even in nature to go and like hike to clear your mind from whatever. Yeah. We have the lake, which is awesome, but like nobody is there pressuring you or showing you what else is out there in the world. And when you get out of a city that used to once have so much going on that doesn't have shit going on now, and you get to see the world. Like I was talking to one of my boys the other day, and driving around North Carolina, there are cranes everywhere for how much construction is going on, how much this place is building and growing. And I'm like, dude, if I would have never left Lorraine, like the concept of a crane wouldn't even like make sense to me. I never saw a crane in my hometown, like building a building. And it sounds so crazy.
I never thought about that.
But like I didn't. Yeah. And it's so wild
crazy
to see like, yeah, like how the world is vastly different. Like even the roadways when I lived in Dallas, Texas, they're like 5 or 6 highways high. where we have one highway that's 3 lanes. And so it just like shows you such a different avenue, and like your experiences with your backpacking, like I can't even fathom what that showed you that this world has to offer. And so that's why I'm excited to like finally go out of the country and see a little bit more of what that life looks like. And hopefully get that drive and that itch that you have. Maybe not to live there, because I don't know if that would fit me, but at least travel there for like extensive periods to like clear your mind and like work on things. And who knows where my mindset would shift, because Dylan went on his vacation and he said that him and Dami were going to get a place there.
I still want
it's
to,
a slippery slope.
I still want to.
Yeah, it's a completely slippery slope, because you're kind of able to put yourself into like these new realities, and you realize that like the way you did things was not the only way that the world works. And it's so eye-opening and fascinating. And I say it's a slippery slope because like, if you're curious enough to go do it in the first place, I think you're going to be curious enough to continue to be curious about, oh, what else is out there? And it's like, it's just the tip of the iceberg the first time you do it, because you see like, oh, you take the red pill, like you understand like the world is bigger than it is. And then you can't go back. At least
it piques your curiosity even more. And that's the thing, is like, I've probably been out of the country like 3 or 4 times now, but it's like every time I just want to go again. Like I just want to experience new things. And yeah, like Freddie was saying, like I went to Costa Rica a few months ago, and like literally like at the airport on the way home, like we're looking at like homes. Like I wouldn't move there full time, but I moved there for like 3-4 months at a time. And like all these places are such like beautiful places, like where people want to travel. It's like literally we're looking at buying a home here in Colorado this year. To get like just a normal family home here is the same to get like this luxurious fucking home on the mountainside in Costa Rica. And it's like here, all that's going to do for me is let me live, just live in a home. But if I buy it there, now I have a place where I can go whenever I want to escape. And not only that, but people are going to want to travel there. Like you can rent that out and make your money back. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. And like, I don't think I'm going to be able to convince Dami to go all the way in on Costa Rica and say, fuck the home here at first. But it's definitely something that I want to get into down the line, because like if I can go stay somewhere that's like that and go back over and over throughout the year, like I think that I would be a much happier person. I think I'd have much clearer vision. Like I don't see any downside to having that escape.
Can I offer maybe a new way of thinking about it, or an idea? If you don't mind. So I heard this in a video yesterday, and it was like, reframe it as an experiment. So rather than like having to commit to Colorado or like commit to Costa Rica, just say, you know what, like we're going to get an Airbnb in Costa Rica for 3 months, and it's an experiment. And if we don't like it, we can just come back. But if we do like it and we find elements that are like very interesting, then you can keep experimenting and tweaking and like, okay, Costa Rica was cool, but like maybe we can go check out like Argentina, or maybe we could go check out like Portugal or something. So in my head, that's how I've like reframed it. Like it doesn't have, you don't have to know the end destination. It's like, it's an experiment. And that's why he calls it the pathless path, because it's like, it's ever evolving. It's an experiment that's ongoing for the rest of your life to find out what is the best way of living for you. And you only can figure that out by experimenting.
Yeah, I like that.
Huh.
Not to like derail your entire life plans, but
I don't have a life plan, so we're figuring out as we go, bro.
Me either. That's the thing. Like this big YouTuber I watch, Ali Abdal, he has like millions of subscribers, like self-improvement guy. And he was on a podcast yesterday, and he was like, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in 3 years. Like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out. And you hear that more and more from people like ahead of you on their journeys. Like they're just figuring it out as they go. And that's like, I take a lot of comfort in that, because when you have like this default path, you see what the end result looks like. You see the like house with the kids and the mortgage and like the retirement plan. But with this alternative path, like there's no blueprint to go off of. And that's why it's like scary for a lot of people. But I think you can reframe it to being like extremely liberating, because now you can create anything you want out of life.
There's nothing I hate more than when somebody asks me what my 5-year plan is. Like somebody's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, dude, I don't know where I see myself in 5 months. You think that I'm ready for 5 years from now? And like in a corporate 9 to 5, that's what everything. It's like, what's your plan? I'm like, I don't got a fucking plan, man. I'm figuring this thing out. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I don't want to box myself in. Like, I don't want to commit to this thing because I have done all this shit so far. I'm not even 30 years old. And like, Dami tells me all the time, like, it's like I've lived so many lives. Like, I've literally been in the military. I've changed my major in my undergrad like 7 times. I fucking have a master's degree. I have all this shit, and I don't use any of it, bro. Like, none of this shit that I've done in all these past lives, sure, like, it's all made me who I am and, like, shown me different things that I do or I don't want. But it don't fucking tell me where I'm going. I'll tell you right now, I have no idea what I'm about to do next week. Like, I have no idea, man.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And I think it's like, it's kind of inspiring to hear that because like when I was starting off with like this entrepreneurship stuff, like I would look at guys like you and everybody else in the fitness industry as like, they've got it figured out. But then I get on the pod with you and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, okay, it's okay for me to feel like this.
Yeah, dude, you're leagues ahead of where I was at 21 years old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was
a degenerate at 21, bro.
Having the background of being like the star football player and we'll just say like the jock growing up, and probably actually, yeah, I think you were talking about in one of them how like you kind of fucked off in high school, like drinking and stuff like that. When you started on this avenue of like positivity, the other side of life, sitting in a park for 3 hours, finding the more important things of life, the things that bring peace, the things that make you mentally, physically happy. Did you get a lot of backlash and people are like, who the hell are you? Like, this ain't you. Like, where is this coming from? And kind of like, are you okay?
Yeah, definitely. So for a little context, like my sister goes to the University of Iowa, and the University of Iowa is like a hot spot for kids to go to from my high school. So a lot of my really good high school friends go there, and they would say things to her like, what happened to Jack? Like, what the fuck is wrong with him? Like, he changed so much. And then she's like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, that's how my whole family kind of feels. And like a lot of people in my life that I changed a lot, but like, I'm not denying it. I'm right there with them. Like, I look back, like even a year ago today, it's so weird. I was still on the Northwestern football team, waking up at 4 a.m. every day to go rehab my torn ACL and lift weights by myself in the weight room. Then I'd get on the train to go work a 9-to-5 corporate internship in the snow in Chicago, unpaid internship, get back at 7 p.m. at night and do it again. And I was like, this just sucks. Like, I hate my life. And now a year later, like I might be dropping out of school and moving to Argentina. Like, it's pretty fucking weird.
That's one of the weirdest things that people say is that you've changed. That is the goal. Like, why would you ever want to stay the same for the rest of your life? Like, you're right. I have changed, and I plan on changing all the fucking time. So, like, don't get used to this guy either. I'm going to be different when you see me in 3 months. Like, these people get stuck in this shit, man. Go ahead.
The text that we were sending back and forth today, I mean, people are going to be like, if we follow through, which I think we do, when we say something, we generally stick to it. But they're going to be like, wow, you've changed. You're not this, you're not that. You aren't doing this, you aren't doing that. But it's fine. Like, we don't need to get so caught up in this world around us or the personas people have. And the reason I asked you that question is because I remember when I started posting uplifting stuff, more motivational things, fitness content, like all that stuff. And I was on a trip with one of my boys, and all of his boys that I didn't know really well were like, yeah, there was a point where we were asking, I almost said their name, if you were all right, because you're always posting this like motivational stuff, this life shit, blah, blah, blah. We didn't know if you were happy, sad, going to kill yourself. I was like, Jesus. It's like, no, I'm just spreading it because I know what it feels like to be at the lowest of low. Like, the mental state that I went through to now get to where I'm at. Like, I don't want to fucking go back there. And I know that there's a shit ton of other people that are struggling with it as well. And I don't want them to get to the place where I was or feel the way I felt. And so I'm just spreading, this energy, this whatever it is, to hopefully impact somebody's life. And it's working so far, and I can't wait to continue it to see what it grows to.
I will say it'll go away eventually. I have like very close friends that I've grown up with who I've been in this long enough where like I still get clowned and like they make comments and shit. But I'd rather you make the comment to my face as a joke because I don't give a fuck. I've always been the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
I can take it. I'll always be the butt of the joke. So like, I would much rather that than be like, hey, that we were asking if you were going to kill yourself. Like, no, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But like, I still get clowned on. But like, they understand now what it is. Like, they finally like. It's not like, oh, what the fuck is he doing? Like, I've been doing it long enough where it's like, that's just who he is now. And so I don't know, like if you guys are both still experiencing this, it will fade away eventually. It's just, people love to jump on something new.
Totally.
Yep. Dylan, I mean, I have a lot more, but I don't have a lot more because I know we're a little over the hour mark, and that's usually what we run these. So I appreciate this conversation. Like you said, man, these things motivate me and us to just keep on going and hopefully keep each other going so that way we don't stop because the world needs people like us in it.
100%. I really appreciate you guys having me on. And it's cool to see like your dynamic in terms of like you guys kind of seem to hold each other to it, like push each other forward. I think it's so important to like have one other guy like that in your life, like hopefully more, and the internet is good for that. But like, if you have that one person you're on the same path with, like it's so valuable. It's so valuable. And it's dope to see.
Appreciate it, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Feel free though. Shamelessly plug yourself. Do you got a podcast? You got a Twitter? Tell the people where they can find you at.
I've never done this before. This is weird. So my Twitter is at JackMoses0. I write about like, I'm still trying to figure out what I write about. I keep changing what like my niche is, but I talk about.
You don't need
like,
a niche, bro. Talk about whatever you want.
Niche
That's
is
the
you.
key.
Yes, that is very true. But I talk about stuff like self-improvement, like questioning the traditional path. Like I'm kind of documenting my story as I go. I have a YouTube channel now. It's just my last name. It's just Moses. So it's basically going to be me just like talking to the camera and giving like some controversial, thought-provoking advice or like conversations that I've had on the top of my head. So the YouTube is Moses. The podcast is the Jack Moses Podcast. And it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. You can find it all on my Twitter, though, if you click the link in my bio.
I will say your YouTube I've been slacking on YouTube. I'm not even gonna lie. I started this year saying I'm gonna post 75 videos, and I am way behind schedule on that. I just I don't know. I'm just I haven't been posting. Like I haven't been taking the camera to the gym. I haven't been doing this shit. But seeing your channel, and then it's very sit down, talk to the camera. I just feel like people don't want to see that because I have a podcast. Like what else the fuck? How many times do they want to hear me talk in a week, bro? But It's inspired me to be like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and talk. And if that's my post for the week, that's my post for the week. But I got to get consistent again. So thanks for making me consistent, whether you knew it or not.
No problem. And that's the thing with sitting down and talking to the camera. It's like, it's so low effort. You can literally just speak your mind. You don't have to worry about all these fancy edits or anything. And like, just kind of completely detaching from like the views and subscribers, because I think with the podcast and with the long form content like this, like it's a really long-term game. And like you're like on TikTok, you could blow up quick, but with this stuff, it takes years. And so you're just building that authentic fan base. And I think by doing this stuff, like I've already noticed that I've understood myself a lot more by doing this and having these conversations regularly. And then like, it's an excuse to just talk to people. So I love it. I appreciate you inspiring me to get into it like way back in the day.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad you actually like dove in once we had that conversation, because it does. It just provokes thoughts that like you didn't even know you had. And then, like you said, it's this and YouTube, like just even talking to the camera are very different content. Like you're going to have people who want to hear people talk for over an hour. You're going to have people who just want 5 to 10 minutes. So being able to kind of like switch it up, I think you're appealing to all the audiences. So it's cool. I'm excited to see where you take shit from here, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know, so stay posted.
Yeah, dude. Maybe I'll come out to Argentina.
Fuck yeah, let's do it.
That'd be dope.
All right, Freddie.
Awesome.
Sign it out.
Yep. Appreciate you jumping on again. We'll definitely stay in contact. Hopefully have you on, maybe even while you're in Argentina. But as you all know, have the desire to inspire. Always live out your dream. Always live out your why. Find that and just enjoy life. It's too short. So tell your mama we said hello. Peace out.